How you doing? Welcome back from April vacation. This week we're going to be focusing on solving and graphing inequalities. This is related to our work on equations, and for this video we're going to give you Khan Academy support for the first assignment this week on inequalities from graphs. Before we get started on some of those questions, I'm going to make this whiteboard larger and we're going to take a look at a few notes about inequalities. The inequality is related to the equation or the equal sign, and an inequality describes one side of an equation, or what we'll now call an inequality, is either smaller than or larger than the other side. It's how we compare numbers that are not equal to each other but ones that are larger or smaller. This symbol here means the greater than symbol, and if you use this it says the number on the left, whatever it is going to be larger in value than the number on the right. This, you should recall, is the less than symbol. It means whatever number is on the left is less in value than the number on the right. And one thing that helped me always is the open side. The bigger side always points at the bigger values. If you ever see half of an equal sign underneath the greater than or less than symbol, it means greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, and it just says it could be greater than, or it could also be equal in value to the other side of the equation. Here I've provided a couple examples. When we move into 7th, 8th, 9th grade working with inequalities, we start to consider variables or unknown quantities that are in our inequality, just like we worked with variables and equations the last couple weeks. This statement here in math, this inequality, says the value for x has to be greater than 5. That's what that x is greater than 5 says, something larger than 5. On the number line, we can graph or represent if x has to be something larger than 5. On a number line, this green arrow here with an open circle and pointing to the right is representing every value in the world on this number line that is greater than or larger than 5. One thing we'll note, if it's a greater than symbol, you have an open circle. Here, for the second example we've provided, it says y is less than or equal to 3. And if it's less than or equal to 3, we use closed dots to represent less than or equal to. So this closed dot says y's value could be at 3 on the number line, or it could be anything that's less than 3 off towards the left. Let's take a look at a few of the examples on Khan Academy now. Here for this assignment, they're going to be providing us with a graph on a number line of the inequality, and they ask us to come up with the inequality statement. For the first example I'm looking at here, you see where my mouse is, there's an open circle over the 0 and the blue line goes to the left. That means x's value could be anything less than 0. Because it's an open dot, I'm going to pick A, x is less than 0. If it were going to be B, we would see a closed dot there. Here we see, if you had missed it, and when you go on their explanations, they even give you, we see when it says x is less than or equal to 0, we see a closed dot on the 0 and it moving that way. And of course for the other two, those were representing greater than, so the arrow would have needed to move right. So that's how we know x is less than 0 is the inequality that describes the number line we see there. For the next question now, we see a closed dot, and that closed dot sitting right on the 0. And the blue arrow moves to the left. So now this is very similar to the first one we just saw, but because it's a closed dot, I'm going to be picking the less than or equal to option. So I'm going to pick x is less than or equal to 0. For our next question now, here we see this number line. I'm going to encourage you, if you're watching with me still and not doing these on your own, pause the video for a second. Which answer would you be picking for this number line? Welcome back. For me, I see an open circle on the 3. I see it's moving to the left. So it's representing anything that's smaller than 3, like 2, 1, 0, and all of the negative numbers. So I'm going to pick less than 3. And because it's an open circle and not a closed circle, I'm not going to include the 3. It's just less than 3. We have one more example here, the last question in this set. I want you to go ahead, if you're still with us, pause the video, try to figure out what inequality represents the number line we see here. As you're coming back, for me, I see a closed dot on the -2, and then I see this arrow moving towards the right. So I know that the inequality is related to negative 2, and I know that x needs to be something larger than negative 2 is off to the right. But because of the closed dot, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick, instead of picking C, which says x is greater than negative 2, I'm going to pick D, which says x is greater than or equal to, and again, that closed dot helped me know that. That gets us to the end of this assignment. If you were struggling, I encourage you to use the Get Help feature, watch Sal Khan's videos, or you could always feel free to send me an email, and I'm happy to jump onto Google Classroom with you or onto Google Meet, and then we can talk about some of these problems.